the Chief Executive Officer of Change Agent Network. Good morning, sir. Welcome to ELVC.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure to be here this morning.
How are you doing? Thank you
I'm
for
doing
coming.
very well. Thank you.
Great. So, for those of you who are following us and listening to this program, there's a big event coming up on this coming Sunday.
Yes, sir.
And that is the Liberian Youth Orchestra. An evening of unity is called, but we'll talk about that more. But it's under the auspices of the Change Agent Network, and so we'll begin by talking about the organization itself.
Okay.
So tell us, what is the dream? Just in about 2-3 minutes, the vision behind Change Agent Network.
Well, Change Agent Network is a non-profit organization that I set up about 17 years ago now, and still counting. That was set up. It started in the refugee camp in Nigeria back in 2002 with one single computer that was given to me, donated to me by a friend. I learned how to use it back then, and then I just saw the need that there was a need to give back to my fellow refugees in the camp, so I started to train other refugees how to use that one computer. And then later on that, in 2004, I came to Liberia here for the first time after the Civil War, and then we purchased our first piece of land in Jacobstown Rehab, where we built our first school. And then in 2006, I was given the opportunity to travel to the U.S. through the U.S. government refugee resettlement program with the help of the Catholic Diocese of the United States. So when I got to America, I felt like those of us who were given the opportunity to leave Liberia, that went through the Civil War, there was a need to look back and give back to the country where we came from. So I came back to Liberia, and I saw the need. This is a country where the average age right now is 18, and that's a big problem, which means that more than half the population of Liberians find themselves around that age, which is a huge challenge. So what I realized was that there's no way to fix any of these problems. Our number one greatest challenge is education.
Sure.
I saw the need to get involved with that. So my vision is to help break the cycle of poverty through quality Christian education across the country. And so we are involved with building schools, running schools, and sustaining schools, county by county.
When you say quality Christian education, quality education is one thing, but when you say quality Christian education, then what is the vision? Let's get a bit.
We are talking about education that helps people not just to give them a good mind, but also give them a good heart with Christian values. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the vision right there. Is to, because you can educate somebody's mind, but the heart, that's a different thing to talk about. All right, so we want to be able to work on that. So we started building. We have built so far 14 schools across Liberia since this organization got started. The main one in Monrovia is the one in the Jacobstown Rehab area. It's called a Heart of Grace School.
Okay.
That's where the orchestra is based.
Okay.
And then we have the biggest one in Bone County on the Lofa Road called a AAA school. And then we have one in Ganta right now, Nima County. There's
were they built basically on, around the country based on any sort of idea or information as to maybe these places have no schools or maybe.
Yeah, sure. The ultimate goal has been to
education.
reach out to the unreached.
Okay.
Okay. They forgotten, they neglect. Most of those people don't live in Monrovia. They live outside the city. I mean, in the Monrovia area and the environment around here, we have a lot of facilities, a lot of schools here. But if you leave out of Monrovia, you realize that most of the children outside of Monrovia don't have access to anything. In fact, you'll be shocked to find out that some of the schools that we call schools in some villages, you find chickens and goats in those classrooms. I mean, literally, there's no doors, no windows. And those children are not less important than our children in Monrovia. The only thing is that I believe they have no opportunity like our children that live in Monrovia. I mean, some of the water they drink, the commode water in some of our houses is cleaner than the water they drink in those places. So our hearts go out to people who are outside in those places that feel forgotten about, marginalized, and just there and waiting for that opportunity to come that they've been waiting for forever. So that's our goal, and that's why we are focusing more on outside of the city.
Mention a few more places for me, please. You talked about Jacobstown in Monrovia. You talked about in Ganta.
Yeah.
Mention a few more places.
Banga, Bone County. Yeah. We have the biggest high school, the AAA school. It's popularly called AAA. It's located on the Lofa Road. Okay. That was built in 2013. It's one of the largest high schools in Bone County. In fact, And then in Lofa, we are building what we call the Ken Academy High School. At the same time, the Ken University in Zosa District in Feasible Town. That's where I happen
To come from.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Because I was about to ask whether, because when you went above the high school to the university, then it signaled that
Yeah,
you
and no,
have
and
come
not just
from
not just because I'm from there. It's because Lofa is, I think, right now is the second largest county in the country. Unfortunately, we don't have any solid quality higher institution learning. I think the ones we have there right now is the community technical college.
Lofa Community College.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
yeah.
And what we want to be able to do is that we don't want children leaving Lofa or Nima, coming to Monrovia all the way to get education. Let's take the education to them where they are. And I believe, like I said again, our greatest challenge in Liberia is education. That's the greatest, in my opinion.
And how do we move forward? You are a Liberian, and I'd like to ask whether the Change Agent Network is only involved in Liberia or you involved in other places?
Initially, when we started, the vision got started, like I said, from the beginning in the refugee camp in Nigeria. We did build 2 schools in that camp, and I started with 1 computer. In fact, the former press secretary to former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Geraldine Pia, was one of the beneficiaries of that computer that started all of this in the refugee camp. And we built those 2 schools there, but then the camp got shut down after the crisis in Liberia ended, and then I moved on to the United States. But then looking at the problems around Africa, everywhere you go, it's almost the same problem. Liberia's situation is worse. And I felt like being a Liberian, I needed to start from home first. So right now, the focus is Liberia. We want to be able to build, like I said, each of these, what I call the Opportunity Center or Hope Center. When we talk about schools, I'm not just talking about just a building. We are talking about a place where children's health needs are met, their physical needs are met, their spiritual needs are met, their academic needs are met. It's a complete center. So we want to take that model and replicate it in each of the other 15 counties by 2030. So that's the goal. So right now we are in 6 counties out of the 15, and we are hoping that within the next 4 or 5 years or so, we will be able to reach the rest of the counties.
Great. Let's talk a bit about the orchestra, because it sounds new and it also sounds fascinating to me,
Right.
to see not older folks, but, kids
Yeah.
being trained, to do orchestra. So tell us about the dream behind the Liberian Youth Orchestra.
The Liberian Youth Orchestra started about 7-8 months ago. Okay, so this is how it got started. When I came to Liberia and I saw the need, I felt like you can give the people food, you can give them clothing, give them whatever you want. That's not going to ultimately, solve the problem. They need some education, and they need some empowerment. You have to build up their capacity so they become productive, to be able to have a stable source of income for themselves. Because we are never going to be able to feed these people forever and be able to provide for them forever. So I saw that was just kind of not really breaking the cycle, but enabling the cycle.
Okay.
So I thought about, okay, we're going to get involved with academic, but we also got to get involved with vocational or technical skills. Because some of our children are very gifted in so many things. It could be art and craft. Talk about vocational training area like plumbing, electricity, carpentry, which is something, because I'm involved with construction of schools, I know how difficult it is now to find professional, technical people. So that was high on my agenda, but I didn't know when we were going to get involved with music until last year. Some part of last year, I think it was about 2 years ago. Sorry, I take that back. 2 years ago, I have a friend in the U.S. and I bring Americans down from the States, people who are professionals, come and help us in our schools to, teach the trainers. So I ran into this lady. Her name is Mrs. Judy McGee from Detroit, Michigan. She played violin. So she came to Liberia with her violin 2 years ago with her husband, who was invited to speak at the Liberian Senate.
All right.
So when she brought the violin, I was happened to be their host in the country. I saw the instrument for the very first time. I've been saying violin, but I only seen it on television. I've never seen it in person before. So I was shocked. I saw it with her and I said, "What do you do?" She said, "Well, this is what I do. I've been playing music for 22 years. I teach in school." So she went to the Senate that day, and then our current president, President George Weah, was a sitting
Senator at the time.
and the current VP was also a sitting senator. So this lady was invited to play, and she played Liberian national anthem that day, and everybody was shocked. All the senators in the room, I mean, their eyes was like, oh, wow. So she left, and she followed me. We visited 4 of my schools across the country, and every school we went to, I asked her to play the violin, and she plays, and all the kids just liked it. I mean, you could see they fell in love with it immediately. So we got back to the States, and she told me about this idea of wanting to partner with me to teach music. Because we Liberians, we are very musical, but we don't have the foundation, the fundamental in education for
and
it.
also the equipment necessary
To make it happen. So I said, sure. I mean, she said, well, Eric, you already have the buildings and you have the children. I just want to come alongside and pass on my skills. This is what I have. This is the least I can do for these children, and I fall in love with them. I said, okay. So we shipped a container. We were able to solicit and got about 75 cellos and violins donated through our NGO in the States, a nonprofit that I run in America. So we shipped the container in August, I think, of last year. So the container got here, and then it was stuck in the port for like 7 months because the LRA officials could not appraise the value of these instruments. So they charged us around $20,000 to get a container out of the port. And that was insane. It's not, we're not just going to do it. So I'm like, when I met the officials there, I'm like, we don't have that kind of money. They're like, well, you got to pay for it. I said, well, we don't have the money. So we thought of the time Judy had played at the Senate earlier in the previous year. So we reached out to the VP, Joelle Howard Taylor, and she responded immediately. Before then, I had previously met her in Bone County when we built a school in Bone. She visited that school. So we knew ourselves, and I just told her about it. Said, look, this is a situation, can you help? And she immediately jumped on board. She gave us cash, not note, not check. She said, Eric, I want you to go to the port and release this container. I'm interested in this container. So we went, we got a container out, and she actually came to the school in Lower Johnsonville. That's the one in Jakarta Rehab. And then she dedicated the school, the 74 violin and cello. So the program started. So Judy, being an American, does not live here. She lives in the States. So my whole thing was, okay, how do we run a musical school when the instructor lives in America,
thousands of miles away.
1,000 miles away, about 5,000 miles away. So she said, well, Eric, we're going to see if we can do distance learning. I'm like, wow, that would be pretty cool if we can get that going. So we bought a 65-inch television and a laptop, and then we got a Zoom software downloaded onto the laptop and set up the microphone.
So did you train a Liberian to do that?
Sure. So we have
now you have a Liberian trainer?
Yeah.
Okay.
A director. He's not yet a trainer. He's still learning. He's still learning himself. So we have a camera set up in the room with microphone, everything set up in the room. So Judy comes here to Liberia. Sometimes she spends a month setting up the class, and then she goes back to the States and spends 2 months teaching through the distance learning program. So the same setup is in her bedroom, in her living room in America. So by 7 o'clock in the States, which is around 1 o'clock, which should be around 1 here in Liberia, she's up, and then she teaches the kids.
Let's talk about the kids themselves.
Yeah.
How many kids, young children, and they're between the ages of?
Yeah, so right now, nationwide, I would talk about Canfor, we are educating about 3,000 children nationwide. We have over 200 employees on payroll nationwide. For the orchestra specifically, we have 30 kids in that program, the most gifted. And the kids, some of the criteria we use to determine who gets to enroll is their ability to be able to read, because to play the violin and cello, you got to be able to read music notes. You have to be able to read. So we started the recruitment process from 4th grade all the way through 9th grade. Okay, so they are as young as 10 years old all the way up to 18. So they're very, very young, but very smart children, because to be able to read music note and play at the same time at such a tender age, it's just pretty humbling, So that's the age.
Speaks to the kind of talent that we have in Liberia.
Absolutely, it speaks to the talent. And children, I believe, like in Liberia, that's all we have. Like I said, the average age right now in Liberia is 18. And it's a shame that not much being done to invest into that potential. That's the potential. That's the future of the country. So we don't even have a future if we're not talking about this, about what we are doing for those young people in the streets. So it was pretty amazing that the children, they fell in love with this program. They come to school, like every child goes to school in Liberia. They stay on campus to like close an hour regular closing hour, and then they have to stay for additional 4 hours
Extra.
for the music class. So they leave around 6 to go home. So they put in like 3 to 4 hours a day into the training. And I was shocked just a few months ago when I came back from the States back in April, and these kids were already playing the Liberian national anthem and the Lone Star Forever. It was shocking. So at this point, we felt like, because this has never happened before in our
Let's
nation.
showcase them.
Yeah, showcase them. And besides that, I've been doing this work for 17 years alone.
Wow.
We raised over $3.5 million in the last 13 years, and everything went into education, for the Liberian children. As a Liberian, I believe in giving back. Everything that we have was given to us by somebody. The knowledge you have, the whatever was given to you by somebody. And it's a responsibility that if you find yourself into a position of privilege, into a position of opportunity, into a position of leadership influence, that should be given back to others. So I didn't have any business coming back to Liberia except for the fact that I believe in what I do and I believe in the future of these children. That's what I came back. But it's been 17 years. I've been doing all of this alone. So I felt like, this is the moment to showcase the work we've been doing and let the Liberian people own this, because this
Will
is
the president be there? Because I had an opportunity to see the flyer, and I saw the photos of the president, the first lady, the vice president, yourself, and Julie as well.
Yeah. Well, we are at this moment. We have not gotten the confirmation from his office that he'll be there. Okay. But we are hoping and praying that both him and his wife, looking at considering their position in the country and their love for children over the years, even before they came to be the first lady and the president of the nation, their services to the young people, that they will give us that honor, do us that favor, and bless us with their presence, and be able to speak a word to these children. Because I tell you what, these are the best cello and violin players ever in Liberia history. And this is history in the making, and I don't think that this is something anyone in leadership or in position can afford to miss, because we all want the same thing for our children. And we also want people to come to the event that night. I don't want to talk to you more about what they're going to do. I want you to come and check it out yourself.
Yeah, come and see it.
Come and see it. And then
at Paynesville Town Hall, eh?
Yeah, Paynesville Town Hall, just down the road from here. And secondly, we want to take this program across the country, like here in Central Monrovia, right? I mean, here in Monrovia and Central Town, what we want to do is to go into what we call a vacation music school.
Oh,
so when
that
the
is
kids,
a bigger dream.
That's a bigger dream. And then to build a national symphony in Liberia, where children can come from both public, private, and independent schools to receive music education. But we cannot present that if the national leadership is not present. We want to showcase these kids, and I just hope and pray that, I know the VP is going to be there for sure, because she's the chief hostess of the program. The rest of the people we have invited, even Henry Koskar and most of the other opposition party members, I tell people that this is not about...
What is this trying to signify, because we're talking about independence, peace, unity, and all of that, and you're inviting both government officials, opposition personalities.
Right.
What are you trying to achieve also?
Well, what I'm trying to achieve out of all of this is to help all of us to see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture for me is the children. You don't have a future without them.